Hey guys, welcome to Make Money Count. Today we're going to talk about none other than the market, which we talk about a lot, but that's what we're here for. We're here to inform the people.
Specifically, we're going to talk about what interest rates are going to do in 2025.
Right.
What each of the banks think they're going to do,
Okay.
what we think they're going to do.
Okay.
I mean, we're going to try to keep the conversation as effective as possible. We're not going to drone on forever as much as somebody wants to. We're going to talk about each of the banks, what their prediction is for the Bank of Canada interest rate movement for 2025. Scotiabank's way out there. National Bank's kind of like also weird.
You were talking about this graph that I have not seen yet. I'm very excited.
Well, we're going to put it up in a minute, but
okay. I'm very excited.
So in talking about what interest rates are going to do, we got to talk about what are the factors impacting interest rates in Canada for 2025.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's going to be a little bit of fun today.
All right.
Starting with the fact that we switched microphones.
We did switch microphones. That's why I was playing with it a little bit. We did switch microphones. Not to drone on
This
about...
one smells like pizza.
Not to drone on about nonsense, but I miss when we had an intro song. Back in the day when we did this and we were live on the radio, we had an intro song. We got to pick it every time. It was quite fun.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
And then do you remember we tried to use songs in the podcast?
Yes.
Like when we first started this and we got flagged.
Yeah. We were
like,
copyright.
Yeah, like we got letters written to us.
Yeah.
And at that time, I think our podcast was only getting like 100 people.
Could you imagine now?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's AI. They just scan all these 100-view videos just to see who they can scare.
Well, I remember getting threatened by whoever the music company is that owns the rights to the Traveling Wilburys, because we did a show and it was like all on the Traveling Wilburys.
Yeah. Then we had to make our own song.
Sorry,
Traveling Wilburys.
Okay. First things first, we talk about this Polymarket website all the time, and I think I'm sorry for bringing it up.
Why?
Because I think it's wrong.
Right.
Like, just pull it up. I said it again. Pull it up for me. The chances that Donald Trump will impose tariffs on Canada and Mexico were at 18%. And I got you watching it because you bring it up all the time. You're like, hey, it's at 25.
Yeah.
And
no, I was excited about like figuring like, why did it go to 25? Why is it back down? Like what's happening? You know what I mean? Like what's happening?
Listen,
nothing. You think it's wrong anyways.
Nothing's happening. I think it's wrong. And I think that Trump's imposing tariffs.
Right.
Like, I don't think anything is going to stop that. Danielle Smith went down there, met him at Mar-a-Lago. Kevin O'Leary was there. He was wearing some weird all-white suit or something. I don't know what's going on.
I didn't see that.
And she came back and she was like, Canadians should be prepared for tariffs.
Right.
The premiers are meeting with Justin Trudeau today, Wednesday, so yesterday for you if you're watching this podcast. And they're talking about bailouts. Doug Ford was in the news. We can pull that article up. That's the Globe and Mail article that I have there.
With a hat that I think we should be getting, if that's the same interview you're talking about.
There's no hat. It's just a Globe and Mail interview.
Oh.
Yeah. Is
Never
it a good hat?
Yeah, there was a good hat. It said, Canada's not for sale.
Let's put the hat up.
In the same like text as the Make America Great Again hat. Yeah. It was nice.
I like that.
Yeah. It was good.
Listen, Doug's the only one. Well, I mean, he's not the only one. It's the problem is that we are kind of fragmented in how we're positioning ourselves. Like there's so many different representatives now of Canada because there's a huge void. There's like a small void left by the void that was our prime minister. By the vacuous being. Anyways, so like, I mean, again, we spoke about this. Apparently, it was super important to Justin Trudeau that he stay in power in order to deal with the incoming Trump administration on January the 20th. The only thing that, of course, superseded that was his need to try to position the Liberal Party better. So that took priority over the country.
Right.
I think Canadians are really going to... They're not going to see through that bullshit.
Yeah, I've been so wrapped up in not paying tax that I haven't been watching. I haven't been paying attention.
What?
I'm just joking. The like the GST holiday, HST holiday.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, man. I was like, you can't announce that you're not paying tax.
No, not income tax. I'm talking about the holiday.
But you don't pay income tax either.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't make any money.
Listen, Doug Ford is saying that hundreds of thousands of people in our province, in Ontario, are going to be out of work if these things come in. So, like, you want to talk about what's important right now? These tariffs. So, I was at a lunch with a friend of mine today who has been in business a long time. He's got a really, really kind of good viewpoint and good vantage point on the economy because he has many different businesses. And I asked him what he thought. I'll tell you what he said afterwards. But in his commentary, he said, for sure, you're going to see Doug Ford call an election within the next 2 weeks.
Right.
So Doug Ford, maybe it might not be 2 weeks, but soon you're going to see him cement his position for another 4 years as the Premier of Ontario.
Right.
And that'll give him a strong mandate to deal with things.
Right.
And I think that maybe somehow coming out of this, I mean, again, I don't like the idea of calling for elections right now. Like, we need a new federal government. And, you know, it'd be great if we could have a conservative government for another 4 years in Ontario. But, like, we need to deal with an incoming threat right now.
Right.
And it's like
enough with the
we got different premiers vying for different positions for their own provinces. We have nobody representing the country as a whole. Like, that vacuum is going to be a real problem.
Right.
And I think that just based on the rhetoric, like based on what we're hearing, the probability of these tariffs coming in are very high. Trump comes in on January the 20th. Our Bank of Canada's first meeting is January the 29th.
January the 20th is like very soon.
Yeah.
That's very soon.
5 days.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And you think it's going to happen like right away?
I think he's going to move fast on a bunch of stuff, and I think that's one of them, unfortunately. And I think, so I'll tell you, the guy that I had lunch with today was saying, like, sure, you know, the tariffs will come in, but tariffs won't be, like, they'll come in as a bargaining tool. They'll be in for 3 months, you know, maybe 6 months, but probably not much longer. And at the end of that, we'll come out of it. We'll have an agreement. The American economy is going to be firing on all cylinders. The Canadian country as a whole will be under a conservative government. Maybe it'll make the government a little more efficient. And hopefully that can, coupled with low interest rates, which we're going to talk about right now. I know we said we're going to get to that. Hopefully that can turn the tides of this stinking thinking general malaise that everyone's feeling around the Canadian economy as a whole right now.
Right.
Because it's bad.
Right.
It's bad. Like, property values aren't going anywhere. That's pretty much our whole economy.
Yeah.
And whatever semblance of an economy we had, if we're going to lose that to tariffs, we got a bigger problem.
Yeah, it's going to be bad.
Yeah.
Now more exciting news.
What is
interest
it?
rate. I don't know. Interest rates.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It's
now,
depressing. The
now
tariff thing is depressing.
the tariff thing is depressing. So Canadian Mortgage Trends, which is a great website, has they posted like a chart that shows what each of the bank's predictions are through the 4 quarters of 2025 for where the Bank of Canada is going to land. And I want to pull that up right now so that you can see it and we can talk about it. And I hope you're okay with that. And if you're not, then unsubscribe. Just kidding. Please subscribe. What does it take? Just subscribe. Subscribe. Did you know that our last video got like flagged?
Right.
If you look at our videos, like we've been on this great track of like hitting all these great numbers, like 20,000 views. And then we had this video, which I thought was a really good video, really good podcast. We spent a lot of time on it. And Google hated on it for some reason. We can't even find out why.
Yeah.
So Google, please stop hating on us. And viewer, please hit the like and subscribe. Or don't. Okay, so Bank of Canada rate forecasts. I better get into it because Austin is exasperated. So let's start off with the the blue line, which is Bank of Montreal, they see us coming out of the gates at 325, which is not moving in basically the Bank of Canada would hold at the meeting.
Right.
And they are the only one. So RBC sees the Bank of Canada dropping another 50 basis points in
That's
January.
aggressive.
That does seem aggressive. Yeah. So CIBC 325, Bank of Montreal 325, and then National Bank and Royal Bank see us dropping to 275. So January 29th, 50 basis point rate cut.
No one says 25.
No. Sorry. That's boring, though. So TD and Scotia say 25.
Right.
So,
I mean, what do you think?
well, I think for sure these guys are looking at Polymarket. I think that, like, I think that if you think no, they're not looking at Polymarket because it doesn't work. Unfortunately, there's not enough liquidity in it, I think, for people to bet, and Canadians can't bet. But I think that if Trump comes in with tariffs, I think you might see, I think 50 basis points cut is on the table.
Right.
And I know, I get it, that's inflationary because then we're going to have reciprocating tariffs whereby we're going to be increasing the cost of goods that are entering our country. But the damage that it's going to do to our economy is going to be significant, and I think the Bank of Canada will want to get in front of it.
Right.
The only thing that stops us from increasing rates is we had like a decent employment number come out in December, like surprisingly high employment number. And it's a possibility, like they were saying, that might put things on hold. I don't think it puts things on hold. I think maybe that results in a 25 basis point cut.
Right.
But I think we're for sure going to see a cut. I'll probably be more predisposed to seeing 25 because I think the Bank of Canada doesn't want to be seen to like overreact. So maybe we won't get the full 50, but make no mistake, over the course of 2025, we're coming lower. So let's go back to the chart. You had something to say?
No, I was going to say that's quite rich that the Bank of Canada doesn't want to make it seem like they're overreacting.
Because they are the
They overreact.
queens of overreacting.
Yeah.
Okay, so then for Q2, which has everybody lowering. So Q2 sees, so we'll just go from TD down here on the chart. So TD sees the rate dropping another quarter point. In fact, TD just kind of nicely and evenly has them dropping a quarter point every quarter. So there are more Bank of Canada meetings than there are quarters.
Right.
But TD sees 4 rate drops in 2025, bringing us down to 2.25. And they see rates staying at 2.25 for all of 2026, not moving down any further. Again, I want to reiterate this. I think the overnight rate's going to 2%.
Right.
And that corresponds, for all of you following at home on your variable rate mortgage amortization schedule, that corresponds to a 3.95% variable rate, which you can still get 80 below prime on, which would leave you in a 3.15%.
I mean, you can still get 1.1, 1.2 below prime. So
if you're insured, insurable.
Yeah, depending on the situation.
So the general consensus from all of the banks, Royal Bank is the most heavy-handed in their expectations of how the Bank of Canada will respond. Royal Bank has the Bank of Canada going down to 2%. So that is the full 125 basis point drop. They see them going down to 2% mid-year 2025.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's aggressive.
Yeah. They're saying
that's 150 basis point drop.
275. So 50 basis points Q1, 50 basis points Q2, 25 basis points Q3. And then how are you just riding that out at 2%?
Right.
I mean, I don't know if we're going to see it come down that quickly. I think we might.
Right.
I think it depends on how bad the numbers look.
I'm excited to see what Scotia says, because you said they're way off the.
So
they're full on Polymarket.
What I was surprised most about on the chart was Scotiabank and National Bank.
Right.
So we spoke a while ago about how each of the banks has their own economics department. Each of the banks has their own economist.
Right.
And those economists vary in their expectation of what is going to happen to the Canadian economy. The most bullish are the economists from Scotiabank.
Right.
Consistently. They're always saying that the economy isn't doing as badly and that there is more optimism, and thereby they always seem to underestimate what the Bank of Canada is going to do as far as a rate drop.
Right.
They have so Scotiabank has a 25 basis point cut in January and then no more cuts for the rest of the year.
That's a straight up poly market chart.
It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, no, that doesn't make sense.
But maybe they see something we don't see.
That's what I was going to say. I'm not, I'm sure that the guy at Scotiabank has more insight than I do.
Okay.
Marginally.
And then the other one that I found weird was National Bank, who sees rates dropping to 225. Okay. Not far off what we think. But sees 2026 as the year that rates pop back up again.
Right.
And so adding another 50 basis points. Scotiabank is just like, they don't think it's going to drop lower than 3%. So 25 basis points off of the overnight rate and then just steady as she goes.
Sailing. Yeah.
Weird. National Bank thinks we're going to take it off and then we're going to put it back on again.
Right.
Listen, this is obviously 2 years out. If we're going to add 50 basis points to our prime rate, it means the economy is doing well. So maybe
Might not be a bad thing.
Yeah, maybe it's not such a bad thing.
Might not be a bad thing.
I just don't see how we can get there with the fundamentals the way they are right now.
Right.
And that might be just a little bit of stinking thinking.
No one knows what's happening anyways.
Nobody
knows what's going to happen.
Well, there's too many variables at
We
play.
could be
right?
America by the end of 2026.
Yeah, I mean, no,
just
I
joking.
don't think that's as probable, but I think that the tariffs could either really hurt us if they're there for longer or really help us if they get removed right away and we kind of collaboratively move forward with the states.
Is there a Canada is the 51st state poly market chart?
No, I don't think so. I can check.
We can look.
I can check, but you have to entertain everybody while I check.
Well, I mean, listen, the next question that I have for you, whenever you're done looking up that poly market chart, is I'm curious about why I'm curious about why the bond yields went up so much the past couple of days. Like what kind of made that happen? And they came off a little bit, but like what made
employment?
Right.
Canada had hot employment numbers.
Right. So that made them go up.
Yeah. 3% chance.
Oh, there is.
Yeah. 3% chance. And seems like the highest it's been. But again, like I don't even trust this thing anymore. Seems like it spiked up to 4%. Now it's at 3%.
Yeah. No.
I don't trust
it's never
it.
going to happen, but
I'm going to have to stop using Polymarket to just make the decisions for my life.
we need a VPN is what we need, and we need to start betting on Polymarket.
Yeah, like I have one up there. What am I going to have for dinner tonight? I'm just going to take it down.
No.
Okay. Listen, I hope you didn't find this too numbers driven today. I wanted to talk about where we think rates are going to be in 2025. I think we're in store for at least 125 basis points of easing from the Bank of Canada. And I can only hope that this puts us in a better position as a country. And then I want you to take that information and I want you to think hard and long about whether you should be in a fixed rate mortgage and whether you should break the mortgage that you're in or whether you should start planning to take a variable rate mortgage. Because in order to get access to all of the stimulus that the Bank of Canada is going to inject into the market with these lowering interest rates, you need to be in a variable rate mortgage. And I'll call upon, we did this article, we showed it 1 million times from the Bank of Canada.
I think 1,000,001.
Yeah, and it says, if you want access to the full breadth of stimulus injected by the Bank of Canada, get a mortgage broker.
Mm-hmm.
And don't have all of your accounts with one bank.
Don't put all your eggs in
Yeah,
one basket.
this is not us selling you to use Cannect. This is us selling you to do what's right for your mortgage and shop it around and get informed because it's big and it's a lot of money. And I hate signing off on this because it sounds so catchy and cliche, but it's important to us.
Yeah. Well, you heard it here first. As they say, I think that's how people sign off on things. Don't subscribe unless you want to because you like us. And we'll see you next week or maybe in 5 minutes, but you'll see it next week.
We'll be wearing the same things.
Yeah.